Today's guest is a true pioneer in the realm of Wi-Fi money.
I started as an insurance clerk, and within a year and a half I was the branch manager.
Using the internet, Brian successfully managed to scale his company to over $60 million in just 1 decade.
We use the internet to deliver the documents within 90 seconds of somebody buying a policy.
Tune in to learn some of the harsh realities of business back in the early 2000s.
He said, there's that 200 quid there, or you can have this, and he opened it up and there was a shot in the case.
And also some life-changing lessons from a successfully retired multi-millionaire.
Knowing your customer, knowing your product, researching your market, being upfront, exceeding their expectations, never be late for a meeting, Sam, and take away their problems.
Big Buzz, proven movement to the world. Making money off my iPhone, yeah, every day I network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are here with Brian Lambert. Brian, thank you for having us in your house.
Absolute pleasure, guys.
Beautiful home, absolute beautiful home. And you're on Wi-Fi Money. That's the name of the podcast.
Wi-Fi Money.
Yeah, Wi-Fi Money.
Okay. So that's money that we can't really see. It's a bit like Bitcoin, is it?
Yeah, just criminals.
Yeah.
No, but so we speak to a lot of people that have made money online, you know, over the course of their career in some fashion.
Okay.
We've had all different kinds of guests. We've had a big OnlyFans creator, for example.
Okay.
Do you know what OnlyFans is?
No.
No? Okay.
Okay.
No.
Well, we'll talk about that later. We've had a guy that sells insurance. We've had a guy that manages YouTubers. So lots of different ones. And we obviously would love to, you know, hear about your career and how you've made money over the years. Because he's got a swimming pool outside, by the way. Heated pool. It's a massive house. How big is it?
About 7,000 square feet, yeah, so I'm told, yeah. I don't know. I haven't been in all of it, to be fair, Sam. I've only been here 8 years. Give me some time. I've slowed down as I've got older.
There's people playing golf just over there as well.
Yeah, it's on a golf course, so it's a nice area to be in.
So he's made a few quid, and we're going to hear about it today. So Jack, take it away, my friend.
So Brian, feel free to introduce yourself in a couple sentences. Tell us kind of where you're from and where did you grow up, and what was your life like when you were going from like a child to a teenager?
Okay, Jack, but before we start, let me just tell you, the first time I met Jack was when he was about 4, and we were invited to his house down in Portchester in England. We never got invited out to France, by the way, you know. No, I'm only kidding. And I ended up in the back garden with Jack, and he was about 4 years of age, and he showed great determination to try and get the football off me, and of course he didn't. But the story behind that
That's why I hate football.
The determination that he showed at that age, I'm sure, is something that is carried forward in life. And business is about determination, and it's also about working within a team. And from an early day, from when I was a lot younger, which is a long time ago, I was involved in football, cricket. I was a decent sportsman, and I just think the basics and the ethic of teamwork is what carries you through into being successful in business, because the principles are the same. So Jack, that determination is something that I admired at the time, and hopefully I admire now, because you've turned up here with an entourage of people. And you're showing the sort of teamwork that will make you successful, and we wish you all the best, boys. But yeah, my name's Brian Lambert. I'm coming up to be a pensioner. So I was born in the 50s. I was born in Doncaster in Yorkshire. There's 5 of us. My mum died when I was 2. She was killed tragically in a car accident, and there's something about that again, talking about the early years, I think has carried me forward to be determined to be successful in what I did. But my story is quite simple. I fell into insurance by mistake. I realised I had an aptitude for it, and I set up my own business in 2003 after being a board director of a large national company specialising in insurance and finance. And I sold it in 2015, and it was simple as that. We started with next to nothing. We sold it with about 104 staff and a turnover of 76 million. And I've been living a comfortable life since then. So enjoyed every bit of it. And that's where we sit today. So that's it in a nutshell.
Amazing.
It's been great fun along the way. And it's better fun when you're not in it, to be fair. Although I enjoyed every day of my 39 years of working in insurance and finance. So that's it. That's the basics of it.
Well,
Nice.
I've got a burning question already to start.
Yes.
So, business was founded in 2003, you said?
2003.
So, that was obviously around the dot-com bubble, 2007, 2008.
Yep.
Did that affect your business?
It helped us. It helped us. in that we were an insurance company with a third-party administration arm. So what we basically did, and this is again going back to the sort of when you start off in business and what you're trying to achieve, is that we were always looking for a USP, a unique selling point that differentiated us from the rest. Now, it's very difficult to do that because in business you either copy what everybody else does and do it better, or you find something that somebody else is not doing. And whilst everybody's done insurance for millions of years, we wanted to do something different. And what we basically did is we used the internet and the online facilities to be able to deliver our products to the customers. What was missing, as we saw it, was the fact that you could buy insurance from us and then we delivered your documents to you. We use the internet to basically, and the web and the websites to deliver the documents within 90 seconds of somebody buying a policy.
Nice.
So all the documents were at the desktop.
Which is pretty standard now.
It's pretty standard now.
Which obviously, you being like one of the first ones, obviously made a big difference.
In 2003, yes. And what we also did is we didn't sell insurance as in household and motor insurance, because that's long tail. In other words, you can have claims up to 10 years after after the policy expired. We used to wholesale and develop products for big affinity partners. An affinity partner can be anybody such as a bank or a large institution that's got access to customers. Mm-hmm. So, for example, where we saw an opportunity was that you take somebody like a bank. What they don't want to do is necessarily have the skill set and the customer base or the workforce to be able to deliver every different product, because it's very difficult to do it. So they would outsource some of their products. So a certain bank came to us and said, we want a family legal protection policy, which is a policy that you attach to your household insurance that gives you legal costs in case you have any disputes or anything. Now, that product might cost £10 to underwrite from our point of view, but then they would sell it to the customer for about 50 quid. What we would do is we would then, through our USP, we would actually design the product with them, insure it through our insurance company, then pay our third-party administration company the commission to handle that product for them instead of paying a third party. So we had the 360-degree circle. We had it all sewn up.
Nice.
So the example is a customer would go onto the bank's website, they would see house insurance, then they'd say, do you want family legal protection? As soon as they press family legal protection, it would transfer to our GUI front end. We would brand it all Santander. They would think they were talking to Santander, and they would then buy the product. We would deliver the documents on behalf of Santander to their desktop. We'd pay the money to the insurance company. The insurance company would pay my third-party administration company 20% commission to handle it, and then we'd do the claim, so that when the phone went and somebody wanted to make a claim, it's a Santander customer coming in. Now, the key to that is there's a number of things with that. Firstly, sorry, I've named the bank there, Santander. Sorry about that. Santander, their main concern is to look after people's money. So therefore, if we're working on their behalf and we're saying we're Santander, you have to get it right. So there were service standards and warranties and everything in the contracts. So we were very good at doing that. But what it meant by doing the 360 was that third parties couldn't come along or mightn't be doing, say, the claims or the accounts for them and say, oh, we can do that.
Yeah.
Ultimate, which was my company, we can do what Ultimate are doing. We'll take that from you. So we managed the 360. So we had no interference. And that contract with Santander was a contract that was still running when I left the business, when we sold the business out, because it was so easy for them just to say, you do it, Mr. Ultimate, you're doing it exactly the way we want it. We come in and do the checks and balances, and it works.
They set someone up, it's running, why change it?
Absolutely, why change it? And that was our USP. We actually tied it in, whereas a typical affinity partner might want to sell something to their customer base, but there might be 4 different partners doing different parts of it. At some point, if you're a good partner, you're gonna look and say, well, actually, I'm doing your accounts for you, I could do your claims. I could underwrite it for you. And that's how it worked. And interestingly, we had 14 people in the insurance company that turned over 76 million, but 130 people in the administration company, because they were doing the selling, the accounting, the claims, and everything else that sat behind the brand. So that's how we did it. But it didn't just happen. I started in insurance in 1977.
Were you the founder?
I was the founder of the business in 2003.
How did you start getting into insurance? What was the, because you said you accidentally
I failed my
into
A-levels.
it.
As simple as that. I failed my A-levels. I was a great sportsman at school, quite a decent footballer and such.
Were you worried about your grades?
No, I just wanted to go out and earn money. I weren't bothered about my grades, and I went to a grammar school, great grammar school up in Doncaster. But I weren't. I just wanted to go out and earn money. It was as simple as that. I didn't want to do the university route. And you learn along the way. You know, you start. You listen to people, and there's some. You know, and it's you don't have to take everything on board that people tell you, but you listen to people, and you take out of it what you think. And as you get older, you understand more about the advice as opposed to sort of following it. You use it well. But yeah, that's how it worked. That's how it started.
So I have a question, kind of taking you all the way back again. When was the first time you made money? So when was the first time you gave somebody something and they gave you money in exchange?
Well, to be fair, I was in a job that was well paid. You know, before I left the company that I was before I was employed, you know, I was on a 6-figure salary, decent car and all that sort of thing. And all you're really doing in that period is building up enough knowledge and contacts to be able to then say, right, I'm going to start. And when I started in 2003, I'd put feelers out to lots of different companies, said, look, if I went on my own, would you consider working with me? And a lot of people say yes.
How old were you roughly when you started?
On my own.
That's your first business, which I guess you might have.
2003. I was employed till 2003, so I was 44 in 2003.
Because that would typically, some people be like, 44, I'm not starting a business.
No,
I'm not going to do that. That's too late for me.
I think sometimes you've got to time it right, but I think sometimes people can think they know it all at a very young age. And I've got no problem with people trying, but they need to understand the basics of their business. And I think after, I started in 77, 78, I think after, 77, 78, after 2003, 30 odd years in the business, or 27 years in the business, I think I had enough contacts, I had enough knowledge to enable me to, to be able to move the business forward. And it wasn't an easy start. I'll tell you a story about when I first started insurance. It was in the days when you bought your insurance in an insurance broker's shop, and I was an insurance clerk in a broker's in Doncaster, my hometown. I don't think it's there now. Doncaster is just. Leeds hasn't got to it yet.
Hanging on
by
the Leeds fans haven't murdered it yet, and Newcastle haven't been down, so we're doing okay. But I started as an insurance clerk, and within a year and a half I was the branch manager, and we had 200 shops throughout the UK, and it was going really well. And an entourage came down from London and offered me a job in London in the East End in Dalston, and that would be 1981, 82, around about that time. And they offered me silly money. I always remember they offered me 11 grand plus a 4 grand guaranteed bonus and a Ford Sierra, which you've probably not heard of.
Oh,
Have you heard of a Ford Sierra?
I haven't.
Oh, they offered me a Ford Sierra. Well, I always wanted it. I had a Fiesta at the time. And I went, and I lived in Chelmsford in Essex, and I was running the flagship branch in Kingsland Road. I had 15 staff at the age of 23. And the business was owned by a company called MAI, Mills and Allen International. The owner, or the chief executive, was a bloke called Lord Hollick, and you probably know his daughter now is one of the most successful women in world business.
Who's that?
Lord Hollick's daughter, I think her name's Sarah Hollick. I don't know, you'll have to check that out. She's very successful, and he was an inspiration. I didn't see him very often. I think I saw him twice in about 8 years. But I was in Kingsland Road, and we'd bought the business, or they had, from a company called Glen Insurance Brokers. And the owners of that were a chap called Bernard Jones, Freddie French, George Stallard. But the story was that the actual business was funded by the Crays. So you're only going back now to 1981, 82, and I think the Crays were apprehended a few years before that. And I was in the branch, and it's a whole new sort of world for me. You're in the smoke, there's a Doncaster boy in a backstreet brokers. And it was a big challenge, and I always stuck to the basic principles of management, which was treat people right, empower people, respect people, but don't stand any nonsense, for God's sake. And I was in there, and one day one of the main chaps from Glen turned up, and he said to me, Brian, I need to have a word with you. And I went in the office, I always remember it, Dalston on Kingsland Road in London. And he said, Brian, we have a few people you have to look after. that are insured here? And I said, yeah, as long as they play by the book. And he said, no, you look after these people. He gave me a list of people. And I said, okay, Bernard, there he is, a mature man. And I thought, what's going on here? Anyway, this particular day, this chap walked in with a suit on, and we had booths. And he said, I'm looking for Mr. Lambert. I said, I'm here. He said, can I have a chat? I said, what's your name? He said, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. I said, yeah. He said, I need to insure this, to renew this insurance policy for Mr. So-and-so. So we had computers for quoting insurance in those days, but we didn't have computers that held record. You had files. Mm-hmm. So I sent the file came, I opened it. I did this insurance lapsed 3 weeks ago. I can't renew it for you. And he said, Brian, has Mr. Jones had a word with you? And I said, yeah, he has. He said, you need to renew this insurance. And I said, oh, no. I was straight by the book. No, we can't do that. And he opened his case. And he said, and he put £200 on the counter, which was a lot in those days. It was probably my month's salary or week's salary. He said, there's that 200 quid there, or you can have this. And he opened it up, and there was a shotgun in the case. And he said, and I went, oh shit. And he said, would you like me to ring Mr. Jones? And I said, I'll get that insurance renewed for you. And I renewed it, and we had about 4 or 5 like that. And there was one where this guy was a burglar in London, but he did all the...
You stood your ground up till the...
Up to that point.
Yes.
Well, yeah, someone put a shotgun, you know.
And
yeah.
If the FCA are listening, which is the Financial Conduct Authority that were first formed in January 2004, I think it was. I'm sorry, but it was before your time. So you can't lock me up now. And then there was another guy who came in, and he was apparently he was a high-class burglar in London, and he'd been caught coming away from this scene of crime, but he'd offloaded the booty, and but they linked him to it, and he wanted his insurance certificate, and somebody came in, and at this point, and he said, and Mr. Jones sent me, I'll get the insurance certificate. I didn't want to see that gun again. But yeah, happy times, and that's how insurance was, that's how business was. Nowadays, it's much more regulated. The FCA have done a fantastic job. Some might say,
shotguns and suitcases.
No shotguns or suitcases. Everything is regulated, and certainly with an insurance company, all the controls are in place to make sure that you've got enough reserves to pay your claims, because that's half the problem. Whatever you've got in terms of exposure, you've got to have enough money to pay the claims. So anyway, that's some highlights from years ago.
I was going to say, so like listening to that, it's interesting for me. And we've actually got, we've got a lot of young listeners wanting to be millionaires. I would consider insurance not that sexy. And I would consider it maybe like people would consider a bit boring, but money's sexy, right? And you've made a good amount. So even though, some people might listen and be like, oh, I don't want to do insurance, it's boring, right? Doesn't matter, because you've probably learned lots of lessons, because at the end of the day, you're selling something, whether you like to sell it or not. Sounds like you enjoyed your career, right?
Did.
So yeah, do you think you can sell? Is that sort of like within you?
Yeah, I think I'm a good salesperson, but I think selling is a byproduct of you, as I said earlier, doing your research, understanding your product, understanding the market, and then the selling is made easy because you're putting you in a position where people want your products and services. But yeah, I can sell. I can sit in front of people, but I don't want to... I wouldn't paint myself as a salesperson that stands there and says, yeah, I can do this. Yeah. You're working with a third party, or you're working with a customer. Even if it's a single customer, if you're actually selling something to them or providing a service to them, you're actually working with them, because at the end of the day, you're meeting their needs. What are the features and benefits of the product, sort of thing. And sometimes when people say no to a product, when I used to work on the shop floor, and years and years ago, and I'd say, would you like to buy road rescue, sort of thing, on top of your insurance? Initially they said no. It's like the old thing. If you go up to a member of your staff and say, well done, you're doing fantastic, really good, they'll say, oh, thank you. If you go up and say, look, I'm really not happy with what you're doing. Why? What's the matter? Point the chest out.
Yeah.
So I think that selling is about making sure you're creating longevity and sustainability, so that customer will come back to you, because getting a customer, acquisition costs are absolutely massive. Look after that customer. I had my eyes, I had lens replacement, and I had it done on Friday at sort of 6 at night, and it's blurred for a few days. Next morning at 8 o'clock my phone went, and it was the surgeon, and he said, Brian, I'm just ringing to see how you are. And I went, well, I'm still in bed at the moment. And I just thought,
It's that level of care
that's that
and-
bit
Yeah,
extra.
that is
Just
a
going
bit
that
extra.
extra yard, and even if you're just selling something for 40 quid to somebody, just check that they're happy with it. You know,
And that was the actual doctor on the phone. It
that was the
like
doctor.
not even their
It weren't his
assistant.
assistant.
I,
It was the
I had
doctor.
the same service. Called me at 4 a.m. once.
I
Yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah,
me too.
yeah.
They're brilliant. Absolutely.
And yeah, you recommended me because
Yeah.
he was so good.
You're so good, and that's the extra. That's the extra service that you don't get in generally in most of the companies or providers. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can sell, but
You can sell.
I wouldn't say I'm going to stand on the street. Or if I had to do, I could, and sell something that I don't know about or the customers don't know about. It's about selling something and make them feel part of you, so that you've got a vested interest for both of you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, if you said to me go out there and sell meat pies on a cold day, I'd clear them out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Let's fulfill that position while we're on it. So now you've got fulfill another position in your company, dream salesperson.
Dream salesperson. Who would be my dream?
Could even be
sales-
someone you've already met in business already. You think, fucking hell, he can sell.
Yeah. Well, I had this guy who I came across probably 10 years before I sold my business. No, probably 15 years. And I can't really say his name, to be fair. And he was
Let's call him John.
we'd call him John. And he was he's older than me, so he's probably about 10 years old, so he's probably about 75, 80 now. And he came from a very good background, and he used to walk in and he had his hair flicked back and he had his trousers up here. So nice trousers, what waist size, chest size are they? Used to think, because they're up here, his trousers, braces, all that. And he was a brilliant salesperson. And I couldn't work out why. I didn't know whether it was because people thought because he was from quite a privileged background. But when I actually spent time with him, he actually fulfilled all of the dynamics that I've just talked about. He knew his product. He talked to people on their wavelength. So if they were, from Yorkshire like me, and they talked a bit blunt, he'd talk blunt. If they were, a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not sophisticated, a bit more choosy with their words, he would be on their level. But he was brilliant, but you just had to watch your P's and Q's with him. So it wouldn't be him. I would go for a celebrity star, somebody like Ian Botham.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's always been my childhood hero, and I think Ian Botham could sell anything because, again, I think he had charisma, or has got charisma, and I just think people would flock to him and buy off him because he was superb. And if you watch the rugby at the weekend, his son, which is Liam Botham, who played for Hampshire at cricket, has got a son called James Botham, and they live in Wales. He plays rugby for Wales.
Oh, does he?
He plays for Wales. He's in the back row, Liam is, and they were playing against Australia. And the commentator said this week, everybody's interviewing the players, and all that the fans want to know is how Ian Botham is, because the Australians were frightened to death of him. He was a brilliant cricketer. And now he's got an Australian wine, because I didn't have a meeting with him, but I saw him about, not go into it, but I had a now with him about a year and a half ago, and he's got a Australian vineyard out there, and the wine's going absolutely mad, and it's overpriced. But that's Ian Botham, because he saw a gap in the market. The Australians love him, and I said to him, where are most of your sales? He said, well, you know what the answer to that, Brian, is? I said, what, England? He said, no, Australia, because they love him out there.
Nice.
And they're just buying because Ian Botham's vineyard, sort of thing. So again, it's slightly linked back to the football and the teamwork. But as I said to you earlier, I think somebody who is immersed in a team and understand the values of a team,
They can sell.
they can sell.
Yeah.
And he can sell because he's also got the added ability of being an ex-cricketer that was probably the best cricketer of all time, and
Reputation precedes.
reputation precedes. Yeah. So yeah, Ian Botham. I know it's off the wall a bit.
Yeah. Ian Botham, aka John, the guy.
AKA John with the trousers up in
Trousers up here. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah,
Says
I'll
what
go
he
with Ian
sees.
Botham.
It's
But I think that's based on him as a person.
Yeah, it's funny when you meet like really good salespeople, like, and they do sometimes, like, that person was ages ago, right? And they sometimes just like stick in your mind. I've got a story actually from when I was like one of my first kind of like businesses was being a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And it was a really good entry into like having my own business, because I had to sell a service, I had to sell, what I was doing. So I would meet quite a lot of rich people, because personal trainers tends to be something that, people with a bit of more disposable income can afford.
Mainly the women over about 35, 40, whose husbands work away.
Yeah, and everyone said to me, like, oh, there must be loads of hot women. No, there are loads of like big, fat, rich, ugly women actually.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was no hot women. But anyway, this particular client that I had, it was through another referral, I think it was, and he came in and he just had this presence, and I was only about 18, and he just had this energy. He was like, he'd book me at 6 a.m. We'd train. I was like, why'd you come so early? I'm so tired. I'm like 18, right? It's too early for me. He's like, well, I trade, like, market's open soon. I need to get this done, get things going. Yeah. And every time I saw him, it rubbed off with me, and I had this energy, and he would tell me all this stuff that he did, and I was like, I want to be like him. He just had this aura, and then he then sort of went on to like have like these different ideas and business. I was like, what's it you've been up to? He said, I've got this new idea. I've just patented it. I'm going to try and apply to go on Dragon's Den. All this kind of thing, right? Yeah. He didn't go on Dragon's Den, but the idea was really weird. It was like a like shopping bags can get heavy and they hurt your hands. It was like a little cover for old people, and it went like that. Because he was so good at selling, I thought it was the best idea ever. I went back to my dad and said, I really need to get 10 grand because I want to give it to him to invest in it. Like after all, like my dad was like, that's not. No. He's like, no, trust me, it's going to be the best.
He sold you on it without even trying to.
And I couldn't believe it. But anyway, long story short, I didn't invest in it, luckily. My dad talked me out of it. And about 2 months later, he stopped answering my messages for sessions with me. And I was like, what's going on? And then a week later, he's in the front paper, and he's just been arrested for fraud for all his financial advisor clients. Yeah. And, he was the type of guy, he was going on private jets at the weekend, and I was hearing about this, and my eyes lit up, because I'm now going to be able to go on private jets. And he got arrested, and he got.
I could have helped him with that, because years ago I went to the supermarket, which isn't very often, and it was in the days before you had to pay for plastic bags. And I got this plastic bag, put my stuff in it, and I went, oh, this is not going to work. And this woman said, well, I've got the answer to that. And she gave me another one. I put the one in the other one. You had two sort of.
So you
bags.
pretty much invented it.
I invented it, yeah.
Yeah,
that was it.
Without the actual.
And every time I went in the supermarket, she used to call me double bagger, which I didn't know was a compliment or just a double bagger. Yeah, I've had a few of them in my time. No, stop it, behave yourself.
Yeah, they do stick in my mind, but obviously not every salesperson is necessarily a good guy, because he stole a lot of money and went to prison. So so I mean, there's some things to kind of like, I think, take from that. For example, you got Santander as a client, and you spoke to these people. I'm sure you have to do some schmoozing and stuff like that. Now, one of the things like I always like to hear about is, what's your like advice on getting a client, even if it's your first one, second one, third one. Like, what's the playbook?
It's really interesting, because if you'd asked me that question 30 years ago, it would have been a different answer to what it is today. And I cringe at home working. I'm sorry. I just don't think you're in the environment. I think once you're in the home, you're a bit more relaxed than you are at work. And certainly value for money. I don't think you're getting value for money when people are home working. That's only my bit of. But I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the principles of business, and I think teamwork is absolutely vital. And I think if you sat in your little cupboard at home, there's no teamwork there. And the key for me, for a successful business is, if you look at somebody's accounts, generally the biggest cost is staff. Yet a lot of companies, just don't look after staff or their customers, and they're the two vital things: your staff and your customers. And it's the old story I used to tell a lot about the bloke who pops his clogs and he goes up to heaven and he's sat on his cloud. I think this is fucking boring. Anyway, St. Peter comes along and says, what's up with you? He said, it's boring up here. He said, can't I go somewhere else? I know I've left Earth and all that. Can I go somewhere else? And he says, well, there's hell down there, but if you go to hell, it's coal and all that sort of thing, bloke with the horns. He says, well, can I just try it for a day? He said, all right, I'll get you a pass. So anyway, this bloke gets his pass down to hell. He knocks on the door. It's a great big door. And the door opens, a bloke there, curly hair, earring, big Hawaiian shirt. He said, right, there you go, mate. He said, television's on, some women over there for you, bit of racing on telly, have a bet, whatever food you want, caviar, all that. He said, have a great time. And this bloke spends the day there. It's fucking great. Anyway, he goes up to his cloud. He's sat there. St. Paul comes along, or St. Peter. I'm not into the biblical stuff. And he says, what's up? He says, I want to go back down there. It was superb. He said, I had 3 bets. I won. He said, as many women as I want. He said, it's absolutely fantastic. He said, bloke with a wine shirt, fantastic, curly hair, earring. He says, well, think about it for a couple of days. Comes back a couple of days. He said, because if you go now, that's it, you can't come back. He said, I'll have some of that. So he signs his release form, he goes down, knocks on the same door that he knocked on before, and it opens up slowly. And there's a bloke with horns, covered in black. And he says, hang on just a minute, I was here the other day. He said, bloke with curly hair. He said, earring, Hawaiian shirt, girls, all that. He said, yeah. He said, yesterday a customer. Yesterday a prospect, today a customer, he said. And that sums up the UK business. What we do in the UK is we fight for customers, and then we don't fight to retain them.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's same with your staff. It costs an absolute fortune to replace somebody. So you empower them, you look after them,
100%.
and you make them feel recognised, and you invest in them. And the answer to your question about 30 years ago is that the basic principles are the same. And yeah, okay, use the webs and the internet and everything else to do things. And if you've got to have conference calls, which I like to look at people's body language, fine. But there's nothing like looking into the whites of somebody's eyes when you're doing a piece of business. And be honest with them, and always leave a little bit on the table. And do your research. So if you know that you're an attender for some business, going back to your point earlier, then A, know your market, B, know the company that you're talking to, but C, make sure that you're priced right, but do not dismiss the importance of service and working as a team to achieve your goal. So you take their responsibilities on. And as we worked, we were affinity partners to probably 12 major brands, and we were an extension of that brand. And it's absolutely key, because the last thing a large institution wants to hear, like Santander, is that the service from the business that they're outsourced is not as good as the business that they're in. We look to exceed whatever service standards they were setting, because
You get one complaint.
and it affects their core business. So business acquisition, Jack and Sam, is all about, knowing your customer, knowing your product, researching your market, being upfront, exceeding their expectations. Never be late for a meeting, Sam. That's the other thing.
You're allowed to be late for a podcast. It's fine.
And take away their problems, because you get people working for these big banks and financial organisations, and they're late for a podcast. And all they want is an easy life. And if you can take that away from them, and they can sleep at night knowing that outsourced piece of business to Ultimate, my business, is being looked after, or exceeding expectations, then fine. That's what they'll sleep at night. So acquisition, there's no simple answer. And you can advertise, of course you can, and you can say, look what we can do. But ultimately, in most businesses relating to insurance, unless you're looking for single customers, which we weren't, we were wholesaling in real terms. We're dealing with big affinity brands. You've got to convince them that you're going to take away the hassle of dealing with complaints.
Solve a problem, they say.
Solve a
sometimes.
problem.
Solve a problem.
How did you meet these big brands, for example? So when you decided to found your company, how did you already have a network? Did you already know
a network? 26 years of dealing with them on behalf of. I had 2 jobs in my life, but in that 26 years, I'd always dealt with the bigger brands.
So you kind of just reached out and said,
and there's nothing like referrals. We got a lot of business from referrals of existing customers. They would say, "Oh, did you know so and so are looking for so and so?" Or they would say to the other affinity brand, "Ultimate can help you." And we built a reputation of being able to protect the brand and deliver and maximise profitability for the affinity partner. And that's how you do it. It's basics, it's basic principles. But as I said earlier, look at your balance sheet. Generally, your staff are your biggest asset. Empower them, make them feel recognised. Go and walk down and talk to them all. If I wanted to know what was happening, because probably out of those 130 people, 80 were on the phones. You had your account staff, you had your marketing, you had your digital marketing people, you had your sales prevention officers, which is people that worked in compliance to make sure that you were compliant. They kept you out of jail, but they stopped you from selling because they tell you couldn't do something. We'd always find a way around it. About 70, 80 people answered the phones. And we had a plan where we brought kids in and trained them for 6 months and then put them out on the floor, mentored them and such. If you want to know something, go and talk to the kids, because they tell you, because they're naive. And I'd say to them, hello, and they go, oh, hello. And I'd say, hiya, how are you doing? How long have you been with us? But do your research first so that you can throw something in that makes them feel comfortable. It's your 7th month in it with us. Yeah. How's he know? Sort of thing, you know.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
for sure.
you get you remove the barriers, and then say to them, what sort of calls you had this morning? Well, I keep getting calls about people not getting the documents. Why? But we're delivering them to the desktop electronically. I know, but they're not getting them all and such. So you go and talk to the marketing people or the digital marketing people, or you go and talk to the, you know, the people that were supposed to be delivering the documents. And you found more out than you would from the managers, because the managers are multitasking. So empower your people, recognise your people, and make sure that you incentivise them and feel as though they're part of it. It's the old story about...
Well, without them, there's no business.
There's no business. And it's the story about the when they were sending the rocket to the moon, weren't they? And I think it was it Carter or one of the American presidents, and he went down onto NASA and he walked around as no bird with a tea trolley. And he said to her, what do you do? She said, I am making the tea to allow people to put a rocket on the moon. And she's absolutely right. She's part of that process.
Yeah, for sure.
The process, everything has to be recognised, and you know, talk to the cleaners as much as you talk to your managers, because they're absolutely vital. But make people feel, you know, as they're contributing. Let them understand the end goal.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
I hear a lot of stories about that. You're into football, aren't you?
Yes, I like football.
So there's a lot of stories about. I mean, we have some American listeners as well. So like Joe can flash someone up here, but Sir Alex Ferguson. One of his biggest sort of attributes and stories that he knew the dinner lady by name. He said hello to everyone without fail.
Absolutely.
And you know, that traditional way of working with people perhaps has lost its way a little bit. And you know, obviously with everything being digital, you might not even know the face of the person you're emailing because they work from home or whatever. So you know, perhaps that's lost it a little bit. But you know, me and Jack are on the business of, you know, online money. So you know, we're heading that direction, obviously, and we think it's a good thing. But maybe a little bit more can be done about
without a doubt,
you know,
without
about
a doubt,
relationships with your staff. And
without a
customers.
doubt. And there's some products that, you know, there's some products and service that fit exactly what you're doing. But it's like business is a jigsaw puzzle, you know, and you can never say, I don't want to meet people face to face, and you can't. But it's a bit like the England football team at the moment. They've got probably the best 11 footballers at the Euros, but the jigsaw doesn't fit because we've got too many flair players. So, you know, you look at the World Cup team in 1966, you had Nobby Stiles. What did Nobby Stiles do? He just kicked people. But he fitted into that jigsaw, and business is the same. And never be frightened, you people out there, to employ somebody who's better than you. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I learned so much from people that were better than me. I had people that, you know, had degrees which, you know, indicates that they can hold a pen. But I had people who were much more intelligent than me, and it didn't frighten me at all. And certainly when we sold our business as an exit strategy, because I had a business partner, there was two of us. I set the business up. He came in because he was good at the insurer side. He loved the sort of marketing. He loved the you know, the interaction with the insurers, and he liked being the relationship manager. I was more the office guy. Did all the financing, managed the people, did the business plans to make sure that we're making money, and you know, it fitted well. And he was part of the jigsaw, and we complemented each other. And interestingly,
different roles.
Interestingly, we don't talk now because we weren't great friends outside of work because we had different characters.
I mean, me and Sam, we're very opposites in terms of business
in terms
as well.
of business partners, we are opposites, and sometimes it works.
Like everything that I do, I'm pretty sure Sam doesn't want to do.
No, I hate
and
it.
most of the things that Sam do, I don't want to do.
Yeah.
But the jigsaw fits.
Yeah.
And going back to the England football team, the jigsaw didn't fit. We didn't have enough, you know, people who were willing to run around with no skill and take the ball off the opposition. We had too many fair players that when the ball was taken off them, you know, their egos are too big, so they stick their hands up in the air. Business is about getting the right people in the right roles and making sure that you're covering the 360 so that you've got every piece of professionalism and tactics within that jigsaw puzzle. So, listen, I think the way business is nowadays, and I love going online and buying things online. I buy more things online than I do in the shop, is absolutely fine. But I think when you're dealing with a big affinity partner, then I think you need that face-to-face contact.
Yeah.
But how we did that was I stuck to the principle of face-to-face contact, but the webs and the internets and all that allowed me to deliver the product to the customer within 90 seconds of them saying, yes, I want that product, which was fantastic. because I could see it going through, and you could even look and say, oh, they've got that. How do you do that? And then they're paying me online.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't have to walk into the office. You know, when I
Give you
started in
cash.
77, somebody come in and said, can I have a quote? We'd have an old computer. Dumb terminals, you used to call them, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did. I can do that 180 quid. Half an hour later, they walked out because you had to fill a form in, you had to send it to the insurance company, you had to issue a cover note. Now it, bing, 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 fantastic.
for
Embrace it, you know, build it into your strategy, but don't dismiss the importance of talking to people and delivering a service that exceeds the expectations of the partner that you're working for, because you are working for them. Be humble, you know.
We just spoke about business partners. Okay, you did have one back in the day. Don't speak to him now. But that's okay. If you were to start a business tomorrow, or maybe an old business, you can pick anyone in the world. It can be someone dead, alive, famous. It can be, you know, your wife if you want to. Anyone you want to start a business with. Who would you pick?
Alan Sugar.
Alan Sugar.
Because Alan Sugar started, a bit like Richard Branson. Alan Sugar started, you know, selling from his house. He understands that business is about buying and selling. Simple as that. And then the rest of it develops from there. And he's down to earth, Alan Sugar. And if you listen to him, he doesn't use big words, but he understands the basic principles of growing a successful business is to be able to add value and to buy and sell something. Simple as that. And if you watch The Apprentice, and I watch it and I cringe at it, it's, you know, God, I think that's the you know, sort of.
I actually tried to get on that, and I got to the final stages to get on it.
Did you?
Yeah. So I went. It's actually a kind of a crazy story, and I won't bore you with it too much. But I went to the audition, and I had like a business plan that I had to bring. And as you got through to the next round, you went to like another floor in this big building, BBC building.
Yeah.
So I went to the next floor, and then some guy looked at my business plan and went, "All right, go to the next floor." Up the lift, next floor, and the people who weren't were going down, and they were going down, and they would leave throughout the door, and I was like, I'm just keep going up this lift until the point where they put me in front of like producers, and I did an actual tape and stuff like that. And obviously I never got the call and ended up on Love Island, so I don't know which one would have been worse or better, but that's how it happened. To be honest with you.
But you failed on both, really.
Well, yeah. Oh, it's a bit like I just wanted to be on TV. Yeah. I want to be on TV, and I don't.
He's got a face for TV, to be fair, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got a face for radio.
Cue the montage.
So I just wanted to be on TV because I wanted to market myself, and
don't give up.
I did the same,
Don't
same
give
as
up. Don't give
same
up.
as most
Don't
people.
give up. But no, Alan Sugar's just a straightforward businessman who, and if you watch that bloody Apprentice, he actually favours people who might not be the brightest, but they'll never stop trying to sell. You know, they want to sell. He had one guy on there who's on the, he does podcasts now. I don't know his name, from the East London. And he loved him. And this bloke was useless. He was absolutely, he tried to sell, and he kept trying, and he kept giving him a chance. And in the end, he was like, I can't support you anymore. Because he saw a lot of himself in it. So Alan Sugar's my man, and, you know, I'd love to spend an hour with him just to have a chat with him. I think he's a good old-fashioned businessman.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's a bit blended. He's Lord now, isn't he? Lord Alan Sugar.
Yeah, Lord Sugar.
Yeah.
And of course,
when are you going to become a lord?
When am I going to become a lord? Well, probably when the sky falls in, to be fair, mate. But
You can do it for like 40 quid online, can't you?
yeah, you
now.
can.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting with him as well, and this will be before your time. But when computers first came out, he did something called Amstrad. Can you remember it?
I don't
Which is
remember
Alan
it,
Michael-
but I know about it.
Well, it's Alan Michael Sugar, AMS.
Yeah,
Strad.
I remember it.
And basically, you used to buy a computer and you had to load it yourself. Never worked. He bought one that was already loaded up, and he retailed it, and it went mad. And then, of course, the bigger companies took over and, you know, were more sophisticated. But for probably 5 years, he had the market, and he sold millions of these Amstrad computers.
Nice.
He's brilliant. And it didn't matter that he doesn't do it now. He did it for 5 years and made a shitload of money and made people happy.
Did he sell the company, or did he just
He
phased
knowing
out?
Alan Sugar, they just phased it out.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, he's invested in tons of businesses, and obviously he's got his fingers in all these different pies now.
Well, they interviewed him the other day on television, and they said to him, if I asked you for a cheque now, how much could you write one for? He said 120 million. So that's not bad, is it? Because if you add that to, or that's not including all his property and all his assets and
That's
everything.
his cash, yeah.
But I just think he's straightforward, and I think he'd actually look you in the eye and talk to you.
He'd tell you if you're wrong, tell you if you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
too
sure.
many business people, you know, are too remote from the business. I suspect that he does as much as he can in all his businesses to be part of it and to understand what he's doing. I do. And you know, I said it earlier, empower people. Of course you empower people, but you have to make sure they're doing the job that you want them to do. And there's ways to doing that without making them feel as though you're stifling them. So I think he's always got his finger on the trigger.
Yeah, he's definitely humble, and he's definitely down to earth.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got a lot of money.
If you could give one tip to like 18-year-old entrepreneurs, people that are wanting to start, they don't have a business, they don't have anything going, but they want to start something. Do you have one tip for those people?
Understand what it is that you want to do. In other words, if you want to go and sell insurance, understand insurance. Now, how long's a piece of string? I thought I knew insurance in 2003, 26 years after I started, and I still learnt things after that. But get a good grounding, listen to people, talk to people, listen to people, be smart enough to understand, you know, what is good advice and what isn't, but know what you're trying to deliver. Research it. Don't just go throw anything. I saw a lad the other day out at the club, and there's down at Skylight, they employ a lot of students, and this lad, now let me get this right, was setting up his own business to provide HR services to the public, and I think it was help with CVs and things.
Okay.
And he called his company, and I'm not going to get this right, but he called his company something like Adios or something. Okay, and I said to him. And he said, will you have a look at it for me, Brian? I said, yeah. I said, have you had many hits? He said, no. I said, yeah. I said, because it doesn't tell you what you do. I know it's the old thing, put it on the tin. But years and years ago, if you wanted to... Grand National Day used to come around, didn't it? And everybody wanted a bet. So nowadays, I get my old Betfair account out, or my Bet365. I do it online. Fantastic. Years ago, you had to go to a bookmaker's because you didn't have it online. And a lot of bookmakers call themselves turf accountants. Well, if you want to bet, you want to see a sign that says betting office. This lad... He said, what should I do? I said, call it your smart name, because it's, you know, if you want to blow smoke up your own arse, son, that's up to you. Call it your smart name, but beyond it, we deliver CV solutions or help with CVs for people who want to fill in a CV. I saw him about 2 weeks later, he'd got 4,000 hits.
Oh, man.
Because it tells him what you're doing.
Yeah.
Tell them what you're doing. Don't get all fancy, and don't let it go to your head what you're doing. And understand that business is hard work, and never betray the principles of being honest, understanding your product, and respecting who you're working with or for to be able to deliver what should be a service or a product that's going to maximise their profitability. Because all big organisations want is to make money.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. All right, so...
Are you going to the structure?
Yeah. Because we were talking about it earlier, and I was ready to segue, and then we just didn't get there. But it's it's time.
Well, shut me up if I'm talking.
No, it's actually Jack's
this is
fault.
great. Did I continue?
Does money make you happy?
Does money make me happy? I think it makes life comfortable, yeah. But yes, it does make me happy. The answer is yes, but I think looking back at where I came from, you know, mum died when I was 2. I lived with my gran. Looking back at that and seeing my progress, because it weren't an easy childhood, because you know something's missing, and you live in a council house, and you're hiding from the rent man behind the sofa every so often because I couldn't pay the rent. Looking where I came and what I did makes me happier, and money is a consequence of that. If I'd have got here and not had the money, I'd have been disappointed with myself, because I knew from an early age I was going to be successful. And I would have, you know, I'd have gone and knocked on doors. And it's like nowadays, you know, I think if I had my time again, I don't think I'd do this. But if I was minded to, I'd get a trade, electrician, plumber, whatever. I reckon within 10 years I could have a multi-million-pound business, because the service you get from plumbers, from electricians and tradesmen, generally, and please, I'm sorry guys, isn't great. They're not organised. They don't understand their costs.
It's emotional, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think
when you're going into someone's home, something's broken, you know, it's stressful.
But they're not organised. They don't answer the phones, and you know, when you're talking 60 quid just on a call out, which is an hour. Well, if I could do 6 call outs a day, that's 360 quid, you know, plus all the profit that's coming from everything else, and then build a pyramid up where you've got a lot of people working for you and below you. I think within 10 years you could have a multi-million-pound business and be sat on your beach in Bali or whatever.
my first business idea was actually quite similar, but it was with the bars.
Yeah.
So I think I might have told this to you.
mentioned it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my idea was basically, well, people will go to a bar and spend £10 on a cocktail.
Yeah.
And for £10, if you're going to have 6 drinks, I could come round your house and make you 6 cocktails at your house, and you could have a party
Yeah.
at your house.
Yeah.
And I got that idea from, after COVID, everybody
Yeah.
wanted to do things at home.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the same way. I was like, I could get a bartender, I could pay them like £4 per drink, £5 per drink, and then have them do a whole event
Yeah.
and scale it that way. But unfortunately, people don't want to drink at home. If they
No.
do, they tend to be alcoholics, and then they
Well,
kind of
yeah.
just buy the bottle.
You got to have the kind of you got to have the
Yeah.
kind of space in the house to have a bartender.
Yeah.
Bring him
But
into my flat.
I had a couple events.
Yeah, I mean,
events,
I'm
but
sure it works.
there wasn't the scalability.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
that's
for
where we
sure.
talked about earlier. You need the USP. And as you say, you need to do your research before you do it. But yeah, you keep trying. You look at things like that. And at some point, you will find something that will work. A lot of individuals and companies have done that. But yeah, it can work.
So,
So we don't have too long left on
Okay.
the podcast, unfortunately. So
We're just getting going, aren't we?
we need a couple
Yeah.
more. It is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I would like to do this for a couple more hours, but we have a couple more people for your dream business.
Okay.
So, who will be the brand ambassador? Who will be the front of the brand?
they call
You
them
know,
influencers, Brian, if you don't know what they are.
They'll be the ones
know what
on
that is?
TV
Yeah, I do know what
adverts and
influencers.
doing the speeches in front of all the crowds.
Is that right? So are we going to touch on marketing at all? Or are we going to have a marketing
No,
guru?
they are just the face.
Right.
So
Well,
you-
I'd use Stephen Barclay, and I'll tell you why. He comes across really well on television. He knows his stuff. I've looked at what
Who's
he's
he?
done.
Who?
Stephen Barclay. He's a brand builder and a marketer. He
know
builds
that
brands.
is.
Have you ever seen him on Dragon's Den?
Bartlett.
Stephen Bartlett.
Bartlett.
Yeah.
I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he's young, and he could teach me a hell of a lot because, in all honesty, the .com revolution came in while I was in business, and we used it to suit our needs and to be able to deliver those documents in 90 seconds, collect the money and all that was fantastic. Put our brands on there to press a button when you're in a website for one of our Affinity partners, and it comes straight over to us. I was marvelled at that, and I said to all the people that did the computer stuff, the technical people, "Fuck, that's on our web, that's us, we're handling it now." Brilliant. And we use that really, really well. But he could teach me a lot, and I'd be absolutely fascinated to learn that side of it, because he's cutting edge, he's built brands, he's marketed brands, and I just think the bloke's a genius, and he comes over as being a really
Very
nice
professional.
guy, very professional.
So
Stephen Bartlett.
He's a good one. He definitely communicates things very well.
Yeah.
I mean, he represents a lot of the top best brands now
Yes.
because he's people listen to it, and he's young.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say don't always listen to the young guys, but sometimes they can give you a little bit of edge.
But
That
you watch Dragon's Den, and he sometimes clashes with Tuka Sullivan.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And Tuka is very old fashioned, and Tuka won't embrace new. If I was sat there and Stephen Bartlett spoke to me about building a brand and such, I'd be in awe. But Tuka actually tries to
Put him down a bit.
tries to put him, and he hasn't got a clue if he actually listens himself, Tuka, when it comes to that. But then again, Tuka knows everybody in fashion, and he knows everybody. He's got so many contacts, and that's where the old merge with the new, and you then create something that's quite powerful. So yeah, I think he could teach me a lot, and I think he's probably the best there is out there at what he does.
Yeah, he's a good one. Definitely someone to look up to
Yeah,
for young
absolutely.
entrepreneurs out there, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
And on to the last one, I guess. So you've built your dream business. You got Alan Sugar in there day to day, helping you with the business.
Yeah, both emitting sixes out in the community. Yeah.
We got Ian on the sales, and then we got Stephen Bartlett representing your brand.
Yeah.
Now the brand, everything's going really well. The company's making loads of money.
Yeah.
You don't want to sell the company.
Yeah.
You're just going to go retire
Yeah.
and enjoy your life. Who are you picking to run the company?
To run the business.
They're going to run it for the rest
Yeah,
of the.
it's going to be a CEO.
It's an interesting one, because when we sold our business, we decided about 5 years before that we wanted to sell it, and we took 3 people that were in senior positions that had joined us. Well, a couple of them had worked with me in our previous lives that we really trusted, and we said to them, look, we're going to be working 2 or 3 days a week. You're going to be running the business. You can make decisions up to, say, £5,000. We want to sign off after that, and we'll meet with you once a week to go through it all. And by the way, when we sell the business, we'll give you £500,000 each. That's what we did. And that's what we did. And they're now running the new business with the company that bought us that employ 14,000 people. So,
Do you have any piece of the pie still at all?
No.
No.
I
Completely
wanted
sold
it
out.
completely out. Yeah, because I'm not the sort of person that can. That's why I've never done a non-executive director's role, because I couldn't just stand there saying you should do this, you should that. I want to be in amongst it, making
Yeah.
sure it's happening. And we said that to our people. They grew as people in that 3 to 5 years. And when we sold the business, we were indispensable, really. And so therefore, our exit from the business was what's the word I'm looking for? It was a transition as opposed to a revolution. Evolution rather than
You didn't
revolution.
disappear.
We didn't disappear, and it helped us fit into the social life, because it's a big thing after 39 years packing in. So would I want to run it? I wouldn't care really, as long as they were efficient, because that wouldn't be the scenario that I'd go with. But if it was somebody to run it on a day-to-day basis, I don't think you need a big hitter. I think you need somebody who understands the business, who's level-headed. So
I think
I'd go for an. I've got. Sorry to interrupt, but I've got a friend who's just retired, and he worked for a big accountancy company in London. And I always say that I've known him for years, but in 2003 we appointed him as our accountants. So they did our audits. They worked with the FCA and that. And there's a bloke there called Sandy Bell. He's just retired, and he was the most unassuming, quite boring. But he was absolutely brilliant, and I'd probably put him in charge, because you know it's going to be in safe hands, and he understands the financial side of it, and you would trust him. He wouldn't go out there and grow it into much more than it was, but if you want somebody just a safe pair of hands, it was him. And then I would couple somebody with him that had the vision and a bit more sort of creativity.
Yeah.
So the two together. Because I think one person, it worked well with Paul and I, we had our respective skills, but we had input into each other. And sometimes I'd say this, and he'd say, have you thought about this? And I think you'd put my old mate Sandy Bell in there as the accountant that's never going to lose you a penny, and then somebody with a bit more creativity.
To kind of throw it.
The vote would go with Sandy, because the bloke with the creativity might make a bad decision. So I'd do it like that. That's how I'd work
I like that,
it.
because some people on this podcast have picked like celebrities and business people, right? But you've obviously gone for people actually you know and trust already.
But
and
I'm talking to you.
That takes a long time to build that trust, right? But I think it's good. I think it shows that actually you would rather go with someone that you trust and know quite well that they're going to get do a good job.
That's part of it, but it's about their values.
Yeah,
it's about their values. So it could be anybody. I mean, I don't know anybody enough that's a celebrity that know they've got the right sort of values, apart from, say, Alan Sugar. So therefore, I'm going on, what are the values that I want? So I'm walking away from the business. It's worth a fortune. I'm going to be taking £1 million out of it every year as long as it continues to go. So what do I want? I want stability.
Yep.
Who's got the values and the attributes that are going to deliver that?
Because
so
you know them, it becomes predictable.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I know what they're going to deliver to me. Outside of that, you could say somebody like Peter Jones and that.
For sure.
You could say Deborah Mead and people like, but I don't know them, and I don't know them well enough to know they've got the values that are going to deliver what I want when I'm stepping away from the business. Yeah. So I work mainly.
You don't want any surprises.
No, I work mainly on values. What's that person like? I don't care whether they've been to university or not. Do they get up early in the morning? Are they determined? Do they know the product? Do they know how to deal with people? And you're surprising. I've had all the undergraduates, and some of them are good. But if you said to me, if you pushed me, who's your ideal person, I'd say, give me somebody who hasn't probably got the best education, but determined, they listen, they want to learn, they're diligent, and they'll take a few risks. I'd rather go with that person at any time. So when you're talking to people over the age of 18, a lot of people are keen to get on with it. And yes, they need to know the product and that. But if they got the basics of wanting to succeed, being determined, like you when you couldn't get that football off me, Jack, all them years ago.
That's why I gave up football.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Yeah.
Hated it since that day.
That is so important. So I answer your questions in terms of not to say, I put, King of England in there. I'm more interested in people. When I can look in their eyes and say, you're the sort of person I want there. So that's it. And I think that's what business is about. It's about being true to yourself and being able to develop people with the same sort of outlook on business.
For sure.
Absolutely vital.
Open-minded.
Yeah. The guy up there, and I tell you, he's lovely, like Charlie. But that website wasn't about attracting customers. It was about blowing smoke up his own arse.
Yeah.
And he's young. He's lovely. He'll get better. But as soon as we changed it to tell him the public what we did,
He listened to you.
And he couldn't. I walked through the door and he's like throwing his laptop. I've had 4,000 hits in 3 weeks, whatever it was, because we changed it. You told people what you did. If I'm looking for something that I've never bought before on the internet, you know, I don't put in a fancy name. I want something to dig my garden with, and guess what comes up? Fucking spade, doesn't it? You know, it's surprising, isn't it? It does.
Sometimes the best way is just keep it simple.
Yeah, I don't want spadeology. You know, I don't want spadeology. So that's the way. That's my pert. That's the way it works for me. It's about people, and it's about their ability to grow, and their attitude and their desire, and then combine that with a good business idea, a good marketing strategy, and a good business plan, and make sure you do your cash flows. For fuck's sake, people do a budget. Say, "Look, I'm going to make all this money." Hang on, you're not going to make all that money because because after 9 months you're going to lose. You've got no cash to pay your supplies or whatever, you know, because people don't do cash flows. You know,
Don't look at their margins. And,
they don't. So that's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, I love that.
Amazing.
Honestly, it's been amazing talking to you.
Well, it's been great.
I've
and
definitely
you've
learned
travelled
a
a
lot.
long way, you guys. I feel quite
No, absolutely
privileged.
worth it.
15 minutes for me.
Yeah, not bad for you, but no, it's we really, really appreciate it. Very grateful for you to come on Wi-Fi Money. I think you've taught the listeners a lot of amazing knowledge, and you know, and your journey in business and how they can apply some of that into their own careers. So we do appreciate it.
There's no rocket science to it, honestly. The basic principles, no matter what happens in terms of the internet and everything else, which is absolutely fantastic, embrace it, use it, make it part of your business and your strategy, but don't forget the principles of knowing your product, knowing your customer, and looking for a USP, or even just doing something better than everybody else. And you know, that's my thing. And if Jack wants to try now to get the football off me and backyard, he can, but he still won't.
Yeah, no, there's not a chance he's going to get that. He's just not the sporting guy, is he? But yeah, thanks very much.
Pleasure, thank you,
thanks for
guys.
Wi-Fi Money. And yeah, guys who are listening right now, we will see you next week on Wi-Fi Money. Brian,
Very interesting
it's been a pleasure,
episode.
my friend.
Thank you.
I'm going to go for a swim in the pool now, all right? So see you in a bit.
Cheers.
If you've got this far, you might be listening out to see who won the competition of $1,000. The winner of the money is listening right now, and it's Wang Sam Wan. So it's at Wang Sam Wan, WANGSAM WAN. So we have DM'd you on Instagram. You've won $1,000. Congratulations. We love giving back to our loyal listeners. Also, a lot of you listen and watch this podcast on YouTube and Spotify, but you haven't followed us or subscribed. So go do that now. And we're going to be DMing another winner to win $100. So go do it. We could be DMing you very soon, and you could win some money. But for now, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Wi-Fi Money.
Big boys, prove a movement to the world. Making money off my iPhone, yeah, every day I network.